Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. We talk about Pakistan's relations with other countries, especially recently. Mostly the discussion revolves around three countries: US, China, and India. But one country that has captured Pakistani imagination since the very start is Turkey. Between the two countries, we see a lot of love, a lot of support for each other as well. Today, we are going to talk about this relationship because many exciting things are happening between the two countries. Today, I'm honored to interview the Turkish ambassador to Pakistan, Ehsan Mustafa Yurdakul. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Sir, before I start the discussion or questions, let me, as a Pakistani, thank the Turkish people and Turkish president for the Karke relief. That was a big one. Now, let me start by discussing the anticipated visit of Turkish President Erdogan to Pakistan, which was delayed, I believe, because of Syrian situation. When to anticipate that visit?
Well, we are working some very, near future dates, and once it is, inshallah, finalized mutually, we will have the announcement, and we will have His Excellency the President in Pakistan, which is, as you know, one of his favorite countries.
All right. Excellency, can we at least narrow it down to an year, this year?
We are trying our best to make it this year. Because it is high time that this high-level visit to take place, since Imran Khan, Mr. Prime Minister, was in Turkey earlier this year. It will be good that we reciprocate within the same year, and because we have a lot of things to do.
All right. The two leaders met also in New York.
Yes, they
and there was an agreement that both countries are going to, and Malaysia also, are going to fight Islamophobia.
Yes.
Are we working on the modalities of how to do it?
Yes, we are working on the modalities in the sense of, as a first step or as a just a preliminary step, we are working on establishing a joint TV channel, an English TV channel. Okay. We have had some working level discussions, some meetings in Islamabad, back in Turkey, in Istanbul. And as far as I know, we are in a good shape and in a good position, to have this channel to be, announced formally in the near future.
Can I pick your brain on what might be the modalities of that? Is it going to be a cultural channel or a news channel or something else?
Farooq Bey, it is a channel which will, first of all, as you say, will be there to give the correct narrative for the issues that we are facing. I mean, both three countries, facing, and in general, the Islamic geography is facing. We are quite concerned about the name of Islam and Muslim countries to be associated with some derogative terms or expressions or
especially
understanding.
The trick of attaching it with terrorism and all.
Especially that one, because our religion is the religion of peace. It has nothing to do with terror. It has nothing to do with incoherence, intolerance. So this narrative part, inshallah, will be sorted out through this TV channel. And of course, it is not only that, I mean, reflecting the cultural life in three countries, the social life, our very deep and pride history. That is also a part that we would very much like to reflect.
I especially ask this because Turkey, apart from many other things, is recognized for its humongous soft power, its cultural power. So maybe Pakistan can also learn from that?
I mean, it's not about, one country preaching the other. It is about, joining the already existing experience.
Can it be one country trying to learn a lesson from the others?
Well, that's up to the country. But, since the practices are there, I would say good practices, why not? I mean, because as we were chatting earlier, Turkey is now number 2 in the world, following only the United States in the export of TV dramas. So that's a huge, how to say, experience that we already have.
Turkish dramas are a rage in Pakistan also.
I know.
And to be honest, it is very difficult to stop when you start watching.
I know.
Let us now talk about economic matters
Please.
also. The trade cooperation, we have heard about trade cooperation between the two countries for quite some time. But the volume, when we look at $790 million, that's paltry sum.
It is,
And
I agree.
why is it so?
Well, there are reasons for that. I mean, the geographic distance between the two countries is one reason, and because the interconnectivity is not, 100% there, this is part of the issues. There is another part which is about lacking of a trade agreement between the two countries. In the past, we have had some, 6 or 7 rounds of negotiations on a free trade agreement. That effort is ongoing, but the more we are in a mutually, acceptable position vis-à-vis the trade policies of both countries, I think we will be having a breakthrough, and inshallah that will pave the way for seeing not only hundreds of millions of dollars but billions, inshallah.
Let us hope that happens. But since you actually spoke about bottlenecks, might I ask you what might those bottlenecks, trade bottlenecks, in the way of FTA might be?
Well, there are some, sectors which are sensitive for both countries, and it is every country's sovereign and natural right that, they would like to, have some kind of protection or incentive for that very, sensitive or sensible sectors. These are the issues that we are, trying to iron out.
This is the age of protection. I mean, look at the US, look at other countries.
Well, this is the age of protection, but I mean, if that protection, turns into some kind of trade war, my sincere belief is that it's not a win-win, but it would be a big lose-lose case.
Right. Upon the arrival of Honorable President of Turkey to Pakistan, we were anticipating that a strategic economic framework will be signed between the two countries.
We will be signing during the visit, inshallah, whenever it takes place.
Right. Can you tell us more about the 9 working groups, 71 departments that are going to be covered?
The mechanism is, Farooq Bey, that as being Turkey, we have with some, 20 plus countries, we have a mechanism, which is the strategic dialogue or strategic cooperation. Pakistan is one of them. When we talk about this, high-level strategic meeting, this is how I picture it, might be like a joint Council of Ministers meeting, because there will be ministers on our side, and there are ministers, from the Pakistani side. They come together, and through that, presently 6, but hopefully it will be 9 working groups. They will, pick up the issues within each and every, working group, and then they directly discuss with their counterpart in a very, sincere and direct way. To sort the, any issues, any, hiccups, bottlenecks out. And it is working. What I can, tell you as of today is that during the visit, inshallah, apart from the strategic economic framework agreement, we will have, a numerous agreements, to be signed.
Wow. Since I was looking at the headers that were mentioned in various stories, from agriculture to political cooperation and umpteen other things, information technology, trade, investment.
You can name it. I mean, it is every walk of life between the two countries and between the between the sectors of.
And that
of
is not surprising. What is surprising is when I was looking at the list, I thought that in every field we can learn a lot from Turkey.
It's not. It is a more than learning. It is some kind of a joint venture or some joint mechanism, a joint effort, because we also have things to see from Pakistan, to take example from the experience. So this is why we are so much intertwined with all these working groups, because what we want is win-win. This is our motto, because we do not want anything else when we deal with Pakistan.
Right. Turkey especially has a very sizable industrial base. And when you look at the economic experience of Pakistan, that is where we keep on faltering. So what distinguishes Turkey's capacity from other countries in the region?
Turkey is an export-driven country.
Right.
This year, the amount of exports is expected to be reaching $170 billion. Wow. Yes, still our imports are a bit higher than that, but the gap between imports and exports are being closed as we speak.
Right.
For that, you need regulations, free regulations as much as possible, an open society, a good legal, framework with all the countries in the region and beyond, like our, agreement, customs union with the European Union. Sorry,
Right.
Our very much, deep relationship with the region and with the regional powers. So it's about hard work at the end of the day. I mean, the more you work, the more you get benefit.
Right. Another area that is quite fascinating is tourism. Turkey has beautiful landscape. So does Pakistan. It has 4 seasons and has various topography is quite diverse. How did Turkey actually hone its tourism industry?
Faruk Bey, it is about first you need to make the basic requirements for any kind of tourism, whether domestic or international tourism, to boom. First, we made huge investments to our infrastructure, whether the hospitality, the road infrastructure, power infrastructure, and of course the education is part of that, the hospitality training, the vocational training. And then we had some kind of mobility first inside the country. Then with with the openings of our government and previous governments all around the world, Turkey has turned into a trademark in the tourism. And this year, inshallah, we will be enjoying or hosting more than 45 million foreign tourists.
Wow. Wow, that's a big number.
That is a big number, and that is a good experience there for Pakistan to share. And we are doing our utmost to make it available to our Pakistani brothers. For example, we are working together with the Federal Ministry of Education to set up here in Islamabad a center of excellence for hospitality, because hospitality is very important. I mean, you need to have basic standard of hospitality whenever you go around any country, and in Pakistan, for example, you should find the same quality in Islamabad and say in Hunza or Skardu.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean this is what an ordinary tourist would look forward. And Pakistan, in this sense, I should also mention this, that it has lots to offer. I was just in Gilgit-Baltistan this weekend. It was awesome. I mean, it is beautiful, and with such a potential tourism-wise, economic-wise, that that should really be tapped into.
Yeah, that is important, because even for Pakistani, a regular Pakistani living on the plains, it is not that easy to access those areas. It becomes, in our imagination also, it is considered a far-flung area.
I took the air route, but I was told that if I took the land route, it would take my 14 hours to reach from Islamabad to Gilgit, and it's a bit too long.
But is it fair to say that Turkey didn't allow its relationship, political relations with other countries to stand in the way of its economic progress?
No, it is part of the, it is kind of a basket. You cannot, just separate the political relations with your cultural ties, social ties, or economic relationship and commercial activities. The ideal situation is that those should be mutually feeding processes. I mean, if you have good business relationship, it should foster the better political understanding between the two countries.
I ask this because, I mean, we have been saying all along that Pakistan lives in a very rough neighborhood. And same goes for Turkey. Its
Yeah.
neighborhood is pretty tough.
We are not in the very, how to say, the most
Peaceable,
peaceful
area.
part of the world.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
So, despite that, you have built your economy amazingly, right?
Well, this is all about trying to be a center of attraction, trying to keep good relationship with your neighbors, with your region, having some good policies, infrastructures about foreign trade, foreign investment, and the result comes naturally, and this is where we are in that sense.
Regarding Turkish investment in Pakistan, we are told that the Turkish investment or company's investment is to the north of $3 billion.
Yes, I mean, as a total, we can talk about some couple of $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yes.
I read actually your interview, and there it was mentioned
yes,
3 point
yes,
something.
Yes.
But is it going to also increase, and are there areas identified where Pakistani investors can take their money and go in Turkey as well?
Faruk Bey, two things. The first is, I should report to you, is that there is an appetite on the part of the Turkish businessmen for investing in Pakistan, because they are very well aware of the potential that Pakistan, presents. Young population, a big market, big amount of resources. So it's an attraction. Plus the affection between the two countries, two peoples, it also helps.
That is amazing.
For Pakistanis trying to invest abroad, Turkey should be a center of attraction for them as well, because for example, nowadays this how you say it, real estate. The real estate market is quite, how to say, good for any foreign investor to come and invest.
Right.
Plus, we have some schemes now, in the sense that if any third country national comes to Turkey and invest in a real estate as an equivalent of $250,000, we also provide them with some permission to stay, and even after a couple of days, it can lead to the citizenship of Turkey.
Wow, that is amazing. I am sure in the coming days we are going to actually publicize that in Pakistan as well, because right now understanding about the investor climate in Turkey is not known to
We are number 33 in the World Bank Index in the ease of business.
Right, just Pakistanis understanding, right? Perhaps because you just mentioned one area where Pakistanis love to invest, real estate.
Yeah.
So that perhaps is one of those areas. Regarding tourism also, can there be more understanding about what Turkey has to offer to a Pakistani tourist in Pakistan? Can we work on that?
Oh, we are working on that, and of course our Minister of Culture and Tourism is working on that. They are providing worldwide campaigns, to raise awareness about Turkey and its touristic facilities. But for Pakistan, it is more likely that Turkey can easily be a point of attraction in that sense, because we have Istanbul, we have Konya, where Rumi is.
It's a thoroughly beautiful country and rich of history. I mean, the only thing is Pakistanis need to know that there are packages which are affordable.
They know. I mean, the average Pakistani, at least I am interacting with, they know about Istanbul. Okay. But unfortunately, other than Istanbul, they have little idea about what Turkey is, presenting. Few people know about, for example, Cappadocia, Konya, Antalya, Izmir, or old Ottoman capitals like Bursa, Edirne. So Turkey is a full basket when it comes to tourism.
It is, and full of cultural riches of two continents actually. and Istanbul actually existed before Christ. So that is something that Pakistanis would like to
Well, you have
certainly.
some couple of ancient sites as well.
Yeah, we do, but we don't investigate them that much like
It
Turkey
will
is
come.
investing.
It will come because with these e-visa policies and likewise the other policies, I think Pakistan is on the way to making processes easier for foreign tourists
doing
and
it.
businessmen to come to
Indeed
this
it
country.
is. Let us talk about human rights, especially Muslim human rights. I use this term because every time we hear about the term human rights, we hear countries which are very vocal, and I mean other religions or people from other nations that are not Islamic, they keep on talking about their human rights. Whereas most of the deaths of late have been happening in the Muslim countries. I mean, right from Syria to Kashmir, elsewhere. Is there a mechanism, apart from OIC, where Pakistan and Turkey can actually work together to raise the issue of human rights?
Well, when it is about human rights, first of all, I regret to see the fact that the double standard is the standard. Everybody talks about terrorism and fanatic terrorism, so-called Islamic terrorism, which is a term we are strictly against. They do not know about the fact that it is the Muslim population who are most affected with these terrorist attacks.
Daesh actually kept on bulldozing Muslims.
Exactly, and they are just
TTP also.
they are just trying to bring some negativity to the bright name of Islam,
Right.
which, as I said, equals to peace. And for the mechanisms, of course, first of all, bilaterally working towards promoting human rights across the wider Islamic geography is a priority for both Pakistan and Turkey.
Yeah, both presidents raised it at the UNGA.
They do, and they do it quite out loud. And apart from OIC, we have the Human Rights Council,
Right.
based in Geneva. We have the United Nations, and of course, it is. I mean, at the end of the day, the sole responsibility lies with us. I mean,
All right.
the Muslims.
Right.
We need to be more vocal. We need to be more, how to say, presentable for all those human rights, violations taking place
Right.
against Muslims and against not only the Muslims, against other, populations
why
as
not?
well.
Of course.
We should not make it. We do not need to make any,
The
distinction between
but,
who is the suffering
But,
of this.
I'm somebody who actually believes in human rights, right? We all are human beings. But particularly when you talk about numbers coming out of Syria, numbers coming out of Libya, other countries, they are frightening, right? So somebody has to stand up and say, hey, these are also human beings, right?
Well, we are trying to do what we are trying to do. Syria is partly that,
Yeah.
because, as you know, we are suffering from the terrorism
Right.
emanating from Syria for some time, and what we try to do is, erase those terrorist activities from the other side of the border. Hence, this is part of the human rights that we are entitled to uphold, because each and every Turkish citizen and Syrian citizen also have the right to exist and to live peacefully, and that is those terrorists who are denying the population that right.
Excellency, since you mentioned this, are you concerned that the Western media is not portraying it?
I am
as
not
that?
concerned, and I am not surprised. We were talking about double standards minutes ago. It is another, demonstration of double standards. Because when it is about national security, no country would tolerate anything against it. Just imagine a case if there was a terrorist organization based on the borders of the, say, United States, south of United States, and operating cross-border terrorist activities.
Right.
would the United States just stay and watch those people, those terrorists? I don't think so.
They are even MS-13 is a crime ring, right? A transnational crime ring, and even there they are taking initiative. I mean, Mexico, elsewhere.
I mean, again, if it isn't about national security, you have every right, to take the matters in your own hand.
Yeah.
And before we, do what we do in Syria, we were trying to work with the United States and the others to expel those terrorists away from our borders.
Right.
Now we have an understanding with the Americans and the Russians that we need to clear these terrorists away from our borders.
I want to come back to this issue because Daesh is a big factor.
Yes.
But before that, let me talk about other areas where human rights are a major issue. Pakistanis were really very grateful when President Erdogan actually mentioned Kashmir, brought up the issue of Kashmir at the UNGA as well. But is there a way to build pressure on Kashmir? Because in past 93 days, the way India has treated people of Kashmir is horrible. And the world seems to be sleeping right now.
Well, again, it is our duty, our job to raise that awareness. We are talking about the double standards here and there, throughout this interview.
Stifling double standards.
From the beginning, for the Kashmir issue, Turkey's stance is quite clear. We need dialogue between Pakistan and India to sort their differences, and especially on Kashmir. And they should do it within the framework of United Nations Security Council resolutions and, of course, according to the will of the very people who are living in that area. This is the stand that we take, and as our leader, Mr. Erdogan, is quite a straightforward and outspoken leader. He is just following this line, and he is trying to speak the truth. I mean, now 90 plus days of some kind of curfew and other restrictions. For example, the Western countries, the European countries, they can at least might wish to take a closer look to that aspect, let alone the others, about what kind of a
Do you think they're not taking a closer look, although silent?
I don't know, you need to tell me.
Yeah. There's no evidence, right? And that's why one has to say this. Does it astonish you, those reports appearing in Indian newspapers, that somehow India is going to, punish Turkey, economically punish Turkey by scaling down its investment in defense and trade agreements? Does it surprise you?
Well, since I am a representative based in Pakistan, for Turkey, it will not be appropriate for me to comment what is going on, between the India-Turkey relationship. But I can say this much: Pakistan is our brotherly country. We have brotherly relations with Pakistan. But at the same time, we also have and want to preserve good relationship with India, because we have the economic ties, we have the commercial ties, and all those sort of cooperation and exchange. We want to keep it that way, and mixing economy and commerce with politics is not something that I personally favor. It is not only the case that you mentioned, but it is also, whenever we commenced that operation in Syria, together with the,
we heard the statement,
Syrian National Army. There are, all those talks or threats and, here and there about sanctions and all those stuff. So this is, these two things should not be mixed.
Right. In another area that concerns both the countries, that is Afghanistan. Turkey has been initiating peace processes, and there were mechanisms. How optimistic are you that peace in Afghanistan can be built in coming years?
Faruk Bey, we are still there in the sense that our mechanism had worked a great deal for the benefit of both Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Heart of Asia.
Yes, Heart of Asia and our trilateral mechanism.
Trilateral also.
So we are there providing this facilitation as long as the party is needed, and our offer is with the parties that whenever they feel conducive, we can commence that trilateral thing again.
We haven't heard about trilateral mechanism for a long time now.
For the Heart of Asia, inshallah, soon enough we will have a ministerial level conference in Istanbul, and let's hope that it will trigger something positive in relationship to bringing about a lasting solution and dialogue to the Afghan people and Afghanistan.
All right. Now, remember I said that we are going to come back to the issue of Daesh and Syria. There are two reasons why. On one side, Pakistan has been afflicted and Pakistan has fought terrorism for quite some time. I understand that there were various attacks by Daesh in Turkey as well, and Turkey lost 400 people, I believe. Right? Pakistan has lost 70,000, and mercifully now we seem to be recovering. Is there a possibility to cooperate between the two countries, especially when it comes to specter of Daesh? Because it is believed that when Syria pacifies, these forces might actually move to other areas of the world, especially Afghanistan, this region.
Faruk Bey, this idea of Turkey, Malaysia, Pakistan trilateral TV channel or bringing about a collective narrative is part of that solution. Because we cannot let organizations like Daesh or any other terrorist groups using the name of Islam to be existing. I mean, this is not something that we can accept. I mean, everybody is now talking about Daesh and all those stuff, but it is Turkey who just countered Daesh head on in the first place. As you said, we lost close to 400 of our citizens to their terrorist attacks. And in the two previous operations of Turkey inside Syria, we have eliminated more than 3,000 Daesh terrorists directly. Oh. This is what Turkey has done with regard to eliminating Daesh terrorism. And of course, in the narrative sphere or financial action sphere, we are all doing what we can to eradicate this menace, because it is at the end of the day, we are suffering in the hands of those very negative narratives that they push on people.
Narrative and also image. On one side it physically hurts us, on the other side it makes our integration with the world difficult.
I agree.
So there is a narrative that, especially since you said that the name of Islam should not be misused by these terrorists, they also have a very specific narrative, right? And somehow somebody has to come up with a counter narrative. In Pakistan, when we were fighting TTP, repeatedly there was discussion of coming up with a counter narrative. Is there a possibility that Turkey and Pakistan can work together to create a counter narrative?
Of course, this is what we are trying to do in the international fora.
Yeah.
This is what we are trying to do through these, initiatives like the Trilateral Initiative. Yeah. And of course,
domestically also, Excellency.
Two countries which suffered most in the hands of terrorists, right. Turkey and Pakistan. Of course, they have a huge, basis of experience and knowledge and, counter efforts to share between themselves and, to set the example of how to cope with these terrorist organizations.
Right. Another very interesting area there where we have seen statements coming from Turkey and some kind of reaction also is the Muslim diaspora elsewhere, especially in Europe. I mean, President Erdogan has been expressing sympathies with various groups. Do you think that that is an area where work needs to be done? Because it seems that other countries or other faiths actually take care of their diaspora. Muslims somehow, it is for each country it is their own.
Faruk Bey, we have a quite a significant number of diaspora people in Europe, and from day one, it started early 60s that Turkish labor force were brought into the European countries. From day one, the integration was an issue, and for us it was a priority. We say two things: do your job well, have a good relationship wherever you live, with your neighbors, with your hosts in that sense, but at the same time, do not feel that you need to get rid of some characteristics of you, like your religion, your identity, in trying to integrating yourself to the society. Yes, integration is necessary, but it is also necessary that nobody should be forced to do away with its religion or with its ethnic background or with its nationality.
Do you think it is a kind of wrong for various nations to demand that Muslims should actually adapt not only their cultures but also give up their own symbols? Like somehow hijab, there is a debate about hijab and all.
Faruk Bey, in a nutshell, I can say you this: there is no use that. It's not a useful thing for any country to raise its borders. The more interaction, the better. If you raise your borders, if you raise walls between the people, within the communities, this will not serve anybody, and this will make everybody prone to more misunderstanding and misuse of some certain narratives or religious issues and this and that. So what I favor is not less but more interaction and more dialogue effort between the communities.
We just have to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to resume the discussion right from where we left. Take a break. Welcome back. Before going to the break, we were talking to the Honorable Ambassador of Turkey to Pakistan. We are going to resume, and this is the final part of the discussion, sir. Since we have talked about cooperation against terrorism, earlier, before the interview, we were discussing, and there was a mention of defense cooperation between the two countries. What is the extent?
The extent is quite extensive. Especially last year, we started very positively to the year, and we made some very important contracts between the Turkish contractors and Pakistani institutions. One thing I recognized during my 2 years term here is that there is a lot of potential between the defense industry sector of the respective countries.
And defense production, right?
Joint production, other commercial, opportunities. It is there, and given the situation around the world, it is only natural that Pakistan and Turkey are going deeper in the field of defense industry and trying to make the best out of their capability.
There was cooperation on aeroplanes as well.
Yes.
Super Mashak and various others.
As you know, we have purchased Super Mushaks from Pakistan. They are not still in the inventory, but it is soon enough that they will be. Again, I mean, just to repeat myself, it's not only about commercial deals. It's also about possible joint ventures, joint productions, and the opportunities are there for both for both countries' companies to fetch, and I am quite optimistic that they will.
Right. Excellency, from this micro focused discussion, I have to actually take you back to the global arena. And I have to, just to understand, because we have seen that of late, there has been a lot of attention paid to Turkey and how it is building relations with various countries. Sometimes it is US, sometimes we are listening to what is happening between Russia and Turkey. What world are we in? I mean, there was a Cold War, a bipolar world. Then there was a unipolar world. Now it seems that it is a royal rumble or sort, or something else.
Well, it is apparently something new that none of us have gone through in the present time. Now the national interests take a more visible place in each and every country's foreign policy conduct. There are some new realities on the ground, like international terrorism, international trend about this illegal immigration, climate change. These are all factors that bringing about new factors for each and every country to consider how to cope with with this new developments. But one thing is sure, that the center of gravity of economic and commercial activities is shifting from west to gradually to the east,
Right.
and this brings about some very important seismic movements, if I may say so. And it is only natural that
Culturally seismic, politically seismic, or economically seismic?
all three.
Okay.
All three, because this is something new in the modern times. But as you know, in the ancient times, again, the center of gravity was the east.
Okay.
Then it had moved to the west. Now it is now gradually shifting back to where it belongs, so to speak.
It is shifting back, or we are moving back in time?
I hope we are not moving back in time. Let's hope that we all had our lessons and experience from all those, terrible scenes of history.
Right.
Whenever economic challenges or economic or commercial competition turned into something wild globally. Let's hope that we have had our lessons enough, and let's just believe to the factor that each and every individual has the right to exist, has the right to believe in what he believes in,
Right.
has the right to economically, also viable.
To prosper as well, right?
Exactly.
But there was a moment that actually made me really happy. When you made me defensive about Muslim human rights, you said all human beings. What will you say to anybody who says that a clash of civilization, so to speak, is inevitable?
How to answer this question? I mean, the clash of civilization, I think, is not part of what we believe in,
Right.
to start with.
Right.
Because the religion that we believe in, Islam, is about peace, it's about coexistence, it's about harmony. It doesn't, see the world as, black and white. I mean, if you are not a Muslim, you have certain rights. And if you are Muslim, you have also certain obligations against the others, against the non-believers, against the animals.
Absolutely.
So
and in the end, we are all human beings, right?
we are all human beings, and this is the thing that we need to uphold.
Right.
And we are ashrafi mahlukat, if I use this Arabic term. We are the most honorable creature of all those existing beings.
Noblest of all creations, right? Yeah.
So our acts should match the title that we have.
Excellency, this brings us to the end of the interview and discussion. Thank you very much for your
My
time.
pleasure.
It was a
Farooq
pleasure.
bhai.
My
Thank
pleasure, actually. Viewers, you have listened to His Excellency, the Ambassador. The relationship between the two countries is very important. We have to work on that, and we have been working on that. But there is also this cultural and civilizational impulse that is there. Perhaps at this time, instead of further dividing ourselves as a world, we can learn from each other and vow not to repeat the mistakes of the past. A Pakistan-Turkey relationship is going to go from strength to strength. This is a clear signal from this interview as well, and we have listened to the Honorable President of Turkey repeatedly saying this. Let us hope in coming days this brings betterment for both people. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.